two words that prove me right beyond any doubt. And any martial artist, who doesn't admit that I'm the top at this point, I don't want to hear anything they have to say. It's like someone swearing up and down that in arithmetic, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. It's like, how do you even deal with that kind of madness? So going back, there's two words that prove me right: self-defense or promise fighting techniques. So you say, well, if he strikes here, you do this, right? You block, you strike here, or you move to the side and you do this stance, you strike to the throat and what have you, right? What is the whole purpose of that if maneuverability, speed, and making that contact, being able to strike that person, isn't the most important parts of martial arts? And what are they for? They're for combat, right? Somebody comes with a gun, you disarm them this way. Somebody comes with a knife, you do this, right? It's for actual combat. So all these UFC guys, you have a very popular sport. People are in love with sports. You see them wearing their football jerseys, their UFC t-shirts, their basketball jerseys. You're no better than football players who think that they're greater warriors than martial artists because they're strong, if you don't concede my point. Because when we look at the football linemen, right, they're way bigger than, UFC fighters and most martial artists, right? So you're no better than they are if you don't concede my point. You have to go back to the essence of martial arts: maneuverability, timing, distance. You have to understand these things. It doesn't matter how flexible you are. There's kids that can do the splits. There's little kids who do amazing, gymnastics. That doesn't mean anything. There's huge bodybuilders who are slow and, strong. Doesn't mean they're the greatest warrior on the battlefield. These are combat arts. So stop pretending this, that, and the other thing. You're a great athlete from your respective sport. There's some martial arts applications in it, but it's not a true martial art contest. Only sparring is. And the only honorable way to do it is light contact with with full sparring gear. What is the purpose of hitting hard? You're trying to show your superior technique and skill. And if your form doesn't allow you to outmaneuver someone, what is the point? What good is it? Going back to the self-defense techniques, right? It's about outmaneuvering somebody. That's the important part. And striking them effectively. Now, it's not very hard to strike someone effectively with a knife. Little kids have been known to stab people to death. So when you consider that most weapons little kids can, produce deadly attacks with, you're forced to the conclusion that the main thing you must focus on is maneuverability, speed, and physical contact, which includes timing and understanding distance and working with it. It includes dexterity, agility, and all these things I always go on and on and on about. This is what martial arts are. And that's all there is to it. So I can go on and on about the different self-defense techniques, but just Google self-defense techniques. You'll see that it is a key part of Taekwondo, karate, ninjutsu, and on and on and on. Kempo. When you look at even the forms, right, the katas, what is it? It's a series of moves that allows you to outmaneuver someone. That the idea of those moves is you're doing this block and this strike. You're dodging this way and you're coming with this kick. It's a series of moves. The idea, when you truly understand martial arts and combat, and I've actually been in something similar to a fight for the death where I was defending my life. I'm alive because I'm right. When you truly understand these principles, it becomes insane to think that I'm wrong. And when you truly understand the system and how things work, it becomes insane to think that someone is better than I am. End of story. I'm done talking about this. They keep harassing me and trolling me about it. The guys who do the Olympics, for example, they're a bunch of pansies. They can't do what I've done. They focus on kicks a lot of these Olympics from what I've seen. They're kicking matches. And their kicks aren't exactly, fast enough to land on me, anyway. So There's nobody there who's even comparable. You see my demonstrations, I mean, as maybe I'm just so much smarter than everyone else, but when I see my demonstrations, it is painfully obvious. But then again, I do have over a dozen people who say that, yes, from their understanding, I do appear to be the top martial artist. And they've seen Bruce Lee and all these UFC guys and all these Olympic guys and stuff. So, I think it is very pathetic, very disgraceful. And, I would never sink to the level of pretending that someone who's better than me isn't. Especially if he challenges everyone and offers $4,000 or $5,000. I mean, that's just like, wow. I mean, where is the sense in it? And then to pretend that sparring doesn't mean anything? It's extremely, extremely disgraceful. When you see what these people are doing, it is just, it shows you how far society has stooped, where tradition and that which is sacred and morality and honor and virtue and valor and nobility, being noble, don't matter to most people. It's like, come on. Just quit being dishonorable, Just quit it. And all you guys in the UFC and all these similar competitions, boxing, admit that that's a sport. You're the best boxer. You're the best UFC fighter. This isn't for combat, actual combat. This is, for fighting in the ring and boxing. A lot of people love those sports. A lot of people care about that more than they care about who can kill someone, using martial arts better, or who's a better martial artist, or who's more talented martial artist. I mean, it's the difference between, actual martial arts sparring, to demonstrate transferable skills, and entertainment in the movies, and Olympic demonstrations, Shaolin demonstrations to make people go, wow. And UFC fighting, sports with violence and blood to make people go, oh, wow, yeah, he beat him up. And this guy is the most proficient, the most effective martial arts killer there is. All those things are different. And I'm the last one, obviously. So, it's just like, just celebrate what you have. If you're a movie star, you don't have to be the most effective killer, the best martial artist. You're a movie star. If you're a UFC fighter, you don't have to pretend that you're the top martial artist. You're a UFC champion or whatever you are, Why do you have to pretend that you're something else? Why isn't it good enough to be what you are? And that goes back to what the 8th degree black belt said. He said, let me end by saying this, because this really sticks out, As with anything worthwhile in life, martial arts takes time, dedication, discipline, a will to excel, and a willingness to accept and respect those more talented than you. You're not respecting somebody who's the most talented when you can't beat them, and you know it. The government and thousands of groups, political groups, military, martial arts organizations can't find anyone better. You're showing a deplorable abhorrence, unwillingness to accept that I'm the top martial artist. A detestable lack of respect for what I've done and what I've accomplished, and no other martial artist has. And it implies that you have some kind of inferiority complex, some kind of, little man complex perhaps if you're shorter, some kind of just jealousy and envy. It's like, why wouldn't you accept that? When you look at Tyson and stuff, do you see a whole bunch of people pretending that they're better than him? And I've done what he couldn't do. He probably took performance-enhancing drugs. They are giving me performance-impairing drugs. There wasn't this massive demand to beat me. There wasn't this huge political movement against Tyson. There's a huge movement against me. The gays, the feminists, the pharmaceutical company, with all their money and resources, the military, the government, law enforcement, on and on. Huge groups of people, martial artists that take my challenge personally. I mean, when you look at this thing, not only did I do it fumed, drugged, dehydrated, sick, harassed, denied, nutritious food because of what they're doing, drugging the food, so I had to diversify my diet to include a whole lot of junk food, But they had every reason in the world to beat me. Not a single reason not to beat me. I mean, do you even think that there's going to be another person that even does what I've done? I highly doubt that anyone will ever be able to match my challenge. Just like that lady with 2 degrees said. I highly doubt it. I mean, how could they do these, how could they recreate the circumstances? How could they? I'm fumed, drugged. No one knows what with what. I don't even know with what. No one knows the doses. The people doing it don't even know the doses. It's not like they measure every drink that they drug and see how much I took and how much I didn't. Nobody knows. Nobody will ever know. And nobody will ever know how it specifically affected me, including myself. Because remember, all people are different. That's why different drugs, quote unquote, work for different people. For example, marijuana has a different effect on different people. Some people act a fool. Some people are kind of smooth and so on. I mean, nobody will ever. And then there's this huge, huge demand. Perhaps the biggest aspect of all, perhaps even bigger than the drugging, though it's hard to, it's hard to compare the two, is the fact that they had every reason in the world to beat me. Every fucking one. And they had all the resources to do it. Do you really think they want this to slowly but surely get out that I'm the top? Why the fuck would they want that? They wouldn't. They don't. They never will. They will always try to suppress it. And when they resort to trying to play me out as crazy and all this shit, instead of just simply finding someone to beat me, how much money did it cost for all these drugs, for all this coordinated activity? They're probably over $1 million by now. When you consider how much money I offered in the challenge and how much money they spent trying to sabotage me, they could have easily paid someone over $1 million to beat me. You think there's a single martial artist in America that would refuse over $1 million challenge over who's the top martial artist? Do you? You're a fucking idiot if you do. You should shut up.